computers,
the transmission, mission, the transmission,
computers, 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 computers,
transmission, mission, the transmission,
computers, 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 computers,
transmission, mission, transmission,
computers, 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 computers,
Hey, how's everyone doing? Thank you for tuning in. I'm a little bit late today for the reading and critiquing of the book, but I had an appointment, so I did the best I can. We're back, and I'm going to go ahead and get started. If you guys want to help and contribute to the show and the learning experience today, we can look up some of the elements that John Lang mentions in his book and put it in the chat so that later on we can go back and look at all this stuff. I might pull up some tabs and we might dive a little deeper depending on how interested everybody is. But thank you for being here. I love you. We're going to look at some kittens today. If you want to help contribute to tomorrow's show, suggest some cute things that we could look at or beautiful, loving things that we could check out for tomorrow's show. Yesterday, the recommendation was kittens or cats. So that's what we're going to look at today. And we're going to continue this trend every day. That being said, I'm going to get into reading of John Lang's The Civilian Rights Handguide. You can see it here. I have the Amazon page pulled up. It's $14.99 if you want to get a couple copies. There's a link down below. If you get them from that link, it helps me out. They give me a commission. And anyways, that's a good idea. If you want to share this information with people in your neck of the woods, you can share them a hard copy like I got. Now, we are in chapter 1, and they're going over the Fifth Amendment. And we are on the second clause, page 12 of the book. I will continue reading here. Thank you again for being here. This is one of the infamous clauses of the Fifth Amendment, the Jeopardy Clause, as it has been showcased in several Hollywood productions throughout the years. In fact, there is a movie titled Double Jeopardy from 1999, starring Tommy Lee Jones and Ashley Judd, that is based on the legal concepts of this clause. Just like in the movies, the Double Jeopardy Clause protects citizens from being unfairly convicted for the same crime multiple times, but it offers 3 other protections from unfair prosecution and punishment from the government. Protection against prosecution after an acquittal, protection from prosecution after certain mistrials, and protection from multiple punishments for the same crime. Much like the grand jury clause, the Double Jeopardy Clause generally does not apply to police interactions, but it is an interesting legal concept that can offer valuable insights into the world of law. And if you're like me, you like to study legal documents and legal theories and stuff. There's the third element, is the self-incrimination clause. This is the third element of the Fifth Amendment. If you've ever heard the phrase, you have the right to remain silent, or I plead the fifth, then you're probably at least somewhat familiar with the self-incrimination clause. This clause is an extremely valuable asset for the civil liberties guaranteed by the Constitution and is deeply woven into the fabric of every police interaction. At its core, the self-incrimination clause ensures that citizens have the right to remain silent when faced with questions or demands for information that would lead to their own prosecution. This protection applies during police interrogations, trials, and other legal processes. By invoking this right against self-incrimination, individuals can refuse to answer questions or provide statements that might be used as evidence of their own guilt. So, I think the reason why this exists is because in order to have a fair trial, there has to be like a presumption of innocence, right? And if they made you incriminate yourself, then it kind of couldn't give you the presumption of innocence, could it? Are we good on the sound, everybody? 5x5. Thank you for tuning in. Let us know where you're watching from. I got a couple more platforms online today. We're watching on the Cop Watch Chronicle website, copwatchchronicle.com. We're broadcasting on Twitch and several other YouTube channels today and on X. If you go over to x.com, we should be live over there right now. Maybe you're watching on X. Let us know. At its core, the self-incrimination clause ensures that citizens have the right to remain silent when faced with questions or demands for information that could lead to their own prosecution. The self-incrimination clause is also closely linked to Miranda rights, which require law enforcement officers to inform citizens of their right to remain silent and to have an attorney present during custodial interrogation. This connection further underscores the importance of protecting individuals from compelled self-incrimination and reinforces the foundational idea that the state must prove its case without relying on the forced testimony of the accused. We will discuss this clause further in a later chapter, but it should be noted that the self-incrimination clause serves as a vital protection for individual liberty, and the right to remain silent is an essential tool for navigating police encounters. That's right. I always say, don't talk to them. If they need something from you, you can present it to them on the window, and you don't got to speak. The fourth clause of the Fifth Amendment, the due process clause. Due process is a fundamental legal principle that guarantees fair treatment to citizens during any legal proceedings or judicial processes. Similar to the 14th Amendment, which we will discuss later, the Fifth Amendment has its own due process clause that states that no person shall be deprived of life, liberty, or property without due process of law. This clause was designed to ensure that the government would respect all legal rights owned to a citizen according to the law and guarantees that the government cannot take away a person's basic rights without following fair and established procedures. It acts as a safeguard against arbitrary and unfair actions by the government and requires that any legal proceeding be conducted in a fair and orderly manner, providing individuals with notice of the proceedings and an opportunity for them to have their story be heard. This means that before depriving someone of their life, freedom, or property, the government must provide a fair and transparent process that includes appropriate legal protections for the citizen. So that's interesting. Like, I remember they towed Lady Justice's constitutional cruiser and they declared that it was abandoned or something like that. So they towed it off of the street, and then they expected for her due process to be after they took the vehicle. In this case, she was allowed to have a hearing. So it seems like that's a violation of the Fifth Amendment, right? And that goes back to another part of the book here. I think they were just talking about where when they take your property, before they've given you the ability to be heard, they have, in my opinion, they've violated due process here. Under the Fifth Amendment, you have the right to be heard prior to that. Before depriving someone of their life, freedom, or property, the government must provide a fair and transparent process that includes appropriate legal protections for the citizen. So maybe I'm wrong there. Tell me in the comments, guys. Tell me where you're listening from. Appreciate you being here. Moving along, the next clause of the Fifth Amendment is the takings clause. Of the 5 clauses, the takings clause is considered by many to be one of the more controversial clauses of the Fifth Amendment. This clause establishes 2 essential principles. the government's authority to take private property for public purposes, known as eminent domain, and the requirement that property owners be fairly compensated for such things. The clause operates on the premise that while the government has the power to seize property, private property, to serve public interest, such as building roads, schools, or other public infrastructure, it must do so in a manner that is fair to the property owner, gives just compensation, and just compensation typically means the fair market value of the property at that time of the taking, ensuring that the owner is not financially disadvantaged by the loss of their property. However, what constitutes fair market value is often a point of contention in cases involving eminent domain. So that makes me think about when the police steal more assets from the US people every year than all of the thieves in the United States. You can look it up. Challenge me in the comments if I'm wrong. And but when they take your property, it's called a civil asset forfeiture, and the process costs so much money. It's often more than the property, just to defend your stuff, and they take it without any like hearing or anything. They just take your property and they tell you can get it later. So have any of you ever lost your property to civil asset forfeiture? That's an interesting part of the law right there. It seems to contradict the Constitution right here. The intention of this clause was to establish a balance between the practical needs of society and the private property rights of private individuals, but the invocation of eminent domain often results in a lengthy court battle. Although the takings clause does not directly apply to everyday police interactions, it still plays a major role in protecting the citizens from governmental overreach and preserving private property rights. The importance of the Fifth Amendment in the context of police interactions cannot be understated. It operates as a bulwark for personal freedoms and justice, providing protections against arbitrary legal actions, ensuring fair procedures, and upholding individual rights in the face of governmental authority. Understanding and applying the rights guaranteed by the Fifth Amendment will have a profound effect on the outcome of your own police encounters and any legal battles that may arise afterwards. While the First, Fourth, and Fifth Amendments typically apply directly to police interactions before or as they take place, the Sixth, Eighth, and 14th Amendments generally apply after an arrest has been made. These amendments outline the procedural process that must be followed once you are in the custody of the government and your rights during that time. The Sixth Amendment. Thank you for tuning in. If you just tuned in, we're reading the Civil Rights Handguide by John Lang. This is something you could pick up by the link in the description. There's also some other products I have tagged. We're going to go through those, but if you want, while I'm reading this, you can go ahead and start clicking those products and getting them sent to your house. And you'll be even more advanced on the information than I am, if you're not already. The Sixth Amendment. Let's all learn together. That's all I'm trying to say. Let's get these things, get the copies in our hand and read them to each other and share it in the comments and stuff. The Sixth Amendment of the Constitution of the United States. In all criminal prosecutions, the accused shall enjoy the right to a speedy and public trial by an impartial jury of the state and district wherein the crime shall have been committed, which district shall have been previously ascertained by law, and to be informed of the nature and cause of the accusation, to be confronted with the witnesses against him, to have compulsory process for obtaining witnesses in his favor, and to have the assistance of counsel for his defense. The protections of the Sixth Amendment begin the moment you are taken into custody and influence how police and prosecutors must conduct themselves throughout the legal process. This amendment laid the foundation for how modern court system works and is instrumental for properly navigating an arrest and the subsequent aftermath of an arrest. It affirms that anyone facing criminal prosecution is guaranteed a fair legal process and mandating several key rights which collectively aim to maintain the integrity of the legal system and protect citizens from potential abuses of power by the government. The primary focus of the Sixth Amendment is to guarantee citizens the right to a transparent, speedy, and public trial, and ensure that citizens are not subjected to prolonged detention without facing formal charges. This also ensures that legal proceedings are open to public scrutiny, which discourages corruption. By conducting trials openly, the justice system is held to a higher standards of fairness, helping to prevent unfair or biased proceedings. Another critical provision in the right to an impartial jury. Another critical provision is the right to an impartial jury. All Americans are entitled to a jury trial by a jury of their peers if they are tried for a criminal offense. But the Sixth Amendment also guarantees that the jury be made up of unbiased peers that are drawn from the relevant community. The jury must be representative of the public and draw upon a fair assessment of the evidence rather than preconceived notions or external influences. The Sixth Amendment also stipulates that the accused must be informed of the nature of the cause of the accusations against them. This ensures that individuals have enough time and information available to them to prepare a legitimate defense to any charges they may be facing. It also prevents the prosecution from surprising the defense with undisclosed allegations. The right to confront witnesses is another vital provision of the Sixth Amendment, but it is also often misunderstood. This confrontation clause grants citizens accused of a crime the ability to cross-examine all witnesses who testify against them. So you get to meet your accusers, guys, and then you can ask them questions. It is an important note that this only applies to the legal proceedings after an arrest has been made. If you are being arrested based on allegations laid against you by a third party, you are not entitled to face your accuser until you appear in court. Yeah, but why is that though? Well, he just says that. I hate it when people say that. He just says it so matter-of-factly. So why are you not entitled to face your accuser? You should, frankly, actually probably be able to. Like, I don't understand. But unfortunately, anyone can say anything about anyone, supposedly, and then you have to go explain that in court, how you're not guilty of that. The right to obtain your own witnesses is also guaranteed by the Sixth Amendment, which allows citizens to summon witnesses who can provide supportive evidence so that the defense can present a comprehensive and robust case. The Sixth Amendment's guarantee for the right to legal counsel is the most well-known aspect of the amendment in the context of police interactions. This clause provides citizens the right to legal representation throughout the criminal process, regardless of whether or not they can afford to hire their own. It is important to bear in mind that this clause does not go into effect until after an arrest has taken place. You are not entitled to legal representation in the midst of an arrest, and the right to speak to an attorney is reserved for legal proceedings following an arrest, not as you are being detained and handcuffed. Look that up, guys. Let's see where that came in at. Doctrinal Squaw, what's up, man? Top viewer stream. I don't know what this is. Top viewer stream boo. Thanks for tuning in, man. Leaving a comment. Appreciate you being here. We're reading the Civilian Rights Handguide by John Lang, and we're moving on to the Eighth Amendment. The legal proceedings following any police interaction are equally as important as the encounter itself, and the Sixth Amendment establishes a framework that is designed to promote fairness, transparency, and justice in criminal prosecutions. Understanding how and when to utilize the protections of the Sixth Amendment can help you to navigate police interactions with the foresight of what comes next after the interaction has concluded. The Eighth Amendment. Excessive bail shall not be required, nor excessive fines imposed, nor cruel and unusual punishments inflicted. Very simple, short amount of words there, right? 16 words. Excessive bail shall not be required, nor excessive fines imposed, nor cruel and unusual punishments inflicted. Considering the brevity of the Eighth Amendment, it can largely be taken at face value. Oh, wait a second. I did want to mention, though, about the Sixth Amendment. In my personal experience, I went to trial here in Aurora, Colorado at the municipal court, and under certain circumstances, they do not give you legal representation free or whatever, like the Sixth Amendment part that we just went over. And I was made to represent myself at trial. And when I did, um, I didn't get to speak my mind. I didn't get to talk about everything that I thought was important to my defense. And the judge, when I took the stand, reminded me of several things that I was not able to talk about that I thought were relevant. So that's why if you scan the QR code on the screen, you can go to Cop Watch Chronicle. And if you want to send us your testimonial of your police interactions, then we will post them in the Cop Watch Chronicle newsletter, and everyone around the world can read your experiences and your feelings about what happened to you, what you didn't get to talk about, the feelings that you felt that, the police, the justice system, they never make it seem like our feelings matter too much. You know what I mean? So, or if there was stuff that you didn't get to talk about, if you had a police interaction, good or bad, and you want to share it, you can email it to copwatchchronicle.com and we will put it up on the newsletter. So yeah, what's up with that? How can they take your attorney when you are entitled to one under the Sixth Amendment? Some of these municipalities just do whatever they want. You know what I mean? Considering the brevity of the Eighth Amendment, it can largely be taken at face value. However, it does warrant a brief explanation. When a citizen is arrested, the Eighth Amendment's prohibition against excessive bail comes into play. After an arrest, a judge will typically set bail, which is an amount of money that the arrested citizen must pay to be released from custody. Switch the page, if I can get it. Awaiting trial. The Eighth Amendment ensures that this bail amount is not set excessively high, which would effectively deny the individual their freedom before being convicted of a crime. The bail amount is typically proportionate to the severity of the alleged offense, but other factors such as the citizen's ability to flee the country may be considered. Not your ability to pay, though. In addition to the bail, the Eighth Amendment protects individuals from excessive fines. Just like with bail, the amount of money that must be paid as a fine has to be proportionate to the severity of the crime that was committed. The Eighth Amendment's prohibition against cruel and unusual punishments is another relevant clause of the amendment in the context of post-arrest constitutional rights. This clause ensures that individuals are not subjected to inhumane treatment or excessive force after their conviction, and has been central to debates and cases involving the death penalty, prison conditions, excessive bail, and the length of prison sentences. Any use of excessive force that causes unnecessary harm or suffering to an inmate could potentially be considered a violation of the Eighth Amendment. Violations of the Eighth Amendment come in many forms and can range from life-altering excessive force by police officers to unsanitary jail conditions, and these protections guarantee citizens are treated fairly and humanely throughout their interactions with the criminal justice system. So, if you guys want to get the book, It's here on Amazon, the Civilian Rights Handguide. There's a link in the description. Check it out. I'm going to continue on with this chapter. We got the 14th Amendment coming up next. What did you guys think about the 8th Amendment? Have you ever experienced excessive force or cruel and unusual punishment? And what were the last stories that you heard about that were related to either of those things? Oh, I wanted to remind you guys too that we also got the podcast up on I can't remember the name of it now. We also have the podcast up on the streaming platforms. It's on Apple Podcast, and you can find it over on Spotify. It's called Cop Watch Chronicle. Just check it out. Leave a comment. Tell us you came over from YouTube or whatever. We'd super appreciate that. That was put up, and we got that going on yesterday, guys. So congratulations to Cop Watch Chronicle getting that all up and going. So the newsletter is a podcast, and it's a newsletter. It comes in the emails and inboxes all around the world. If you want your story to be heard, send it in to copwatchchronicle.com. Or copwatchchronicle@gmail.com. The 14th Amendment. Unlike the previous amendments, the 14th Amendment is not a part of the Bill of Rights and was added much later in the history of the Constitution. The primary focus of the amendment was to address citizenship rights and equal protection under the law, and it was proposed in response to issues related to formerly enslaved Americans following the Civil War. Although the amendment was subjected to political attacks, it was ultimately added to the Constitution in 1868. The 14th Amendment is divided into 5 distinct sections that each address citizenship rights and equal protections under the law, but only the first section applies to police interactions. It reads, all persons born or naturalized in the United States and subject to the jurisdiction thereof are citizens of the United States and are of the state wherein they reside. No state shall make or enforce any law which shall abridge the privileges or immunities of citizens of the United States. Nor shall any state deprive any person of life, liberty, or property without due process of law, nor deny to any person within its jurisdiction the equal protection of the laws. Section 1 of the 14th Amendment is one of the most litigated parts of the Constitution, forming the basis for landmark superior court decisions regarding all manner of cases involving free speech, protest, interracial marriage, and a host of other topics. This section established that all persons born or naturalized in the United States are citizens of the country and the state where they reside, and that all citizens, regardless of their background, are entitled to the same legal protections. The 14th Amendment also bars states from enforcing any laws that deny any person within its jurisdiction the equal protection of the laws, which is known as the Equal Protection Clause. This means that law enforcement officers must apply the law impartially and without any discrimination. They can't use practices such as racial profiling or biased policing. Those are violations of this clause because they deny individuals equal treatment under the law based on their race, ethnicity, or other protected characteristics. The Equal Protection Clause is a crucial mechanism for holding members of law enforcement accountable, particularly for challenging discriminatory police practices. If certain racial or ethnic groups are disproportionately targeted by law enforcement, these practices can be contested as unconstitutional under this clause. The amendment's requirement for equal treatment under the law acts as a check against systemic biases in policing. This section does go on to state that no person shall be deprived of life, liberty, or property without the due process of law. This is known as the Due Process Clause of the 14th Amendment. Although this clause doesn't apply to everyday police interactions in a direct way, it is still a vital safeguard that preserves fairness in legal procedures and protects certain fundamental rights. The Due Process Clause shapes much of the legal landscape surrounding constitutional law, and it guarantees that citizens are treated fairly by the justice system. The First, Fourth, Fifth, Sixth, Eighth, and 14th Amendments collectively provide a comprehensive framework of protections that guide and constrain law police interactions, preserving justice, fairness, and respect for constitutional rights. Understanding the protections guaranteed by these amendments will allow you to recognize when police misconduct is happening and what to do once it has occurred. This awareness empowers you to respond appropriately to any unfair or unlawful treatment and allows you to make informed decisions that can significantly impact the outcome of an interaction. However, the practical application of these rights often depends on how they are interpreted and enforced by the courts. That sucks, guys. When your rights are interpreted by the courts, and it's case by case, it almost seems like there is no equal treatment. Sometimes I feel like one of the many rules of our judicial system is to interpret the language of the Constitution and apply it to modern cases. Courts define the scope and limits of constitutional protections and make critical decisions that shape the relationship between law enforcement authority and civil rights. Understanding what constitutional protections are available to you is only half the puzzle. You should also understand how these rights have been interpreted and applied by higher courts and how the judicial system operates as a whole. Once you have a thorough understanding of both the Constitution and the court's interpretation of it, you can rest assured that you're prepared to handle almost any police encounter. Well, I think I'm gonna cut it right there today, guys. We're gonna go into the courts and judicial system portion of the book tomorrow. I just wanted to get some of that done today, like I promised. I appreciate everybody being here. Sicario 3030, man, thank you for tuning in, commenting, letting us know you're watching on, you're playing Roblox on your PS5. Appreciate you listening in. You should get the book, man. You can read along with me if you want, or help me understand these concepts. Let's talk about them each day. And then by the time I'm done reading the book with you guys, we should have everything to arm us and empower us during police interactions. And if we don't, I'll find some more material after that and we'll go over it. This is just one segment of everything that we have going on here at the State of Accountability. And I do promise that there's going to be other content coming. And I encourage you guys to keep leaving comments, tune in, share with everybody you know. And it's been really great sitting here reading with you guys today. Let me put the book cover on the screen again. Here it is over on Amazon, the Civilian Rights Handbook. You can check it out on Amazon for $14.99. Hit the link in the description. Send in, if you have police interactions, whether they were bad, but especially if they were good, we want to hear about it over on Cop Watch Chronicle. You can send yours to copwatchchronicle@gmail.com. I love connecting with people and hearing their stories and putting them in the newsletter. You can check out the newsletter on Beehive, I think it is. Just search Cop Watch Chronicle on Google. It'll come right up. And there was a QR code. That's what I was looking for earlier. Where is it? Is it not on the screen or what? Here it is. I was talking about it, but it ain't up there. Anyways, if you scan the QR code, it'll take you to the newsletter. You can check it out. I love you guys. Thanks for tuning in. Oh yeah, I said I wouldn't let us go before we looked at some kittens, and I've got it all loaded up and ready to go. So stick around. Those are your favorite kittens. We'll check them out. I was going to do some critiquing of some audit aspects a little later today. So make sure you got that all on. getting the notifications when I go live. You can keep the auditors. So I'm gonna have the screen. There we go. We'll make we'll make these fine. Let's check them out though. If you want to see this video, you gotta go over to that corrected YouTube and look for the video. It's 20 minutes of the normal techniques. I'm not gonna start the whole thing. I'm gonna do a little tell me which ones you need to know. Tell me your channel you'd like to see, whether it's some loving content or beautiful, positive content to check out after tomorrow's reading. That's where you guys get to contribute to the making of the show. Tell me in the comments below. The kitten's kind of guys. It's too much. That's too cute. Isn't it? You can see. I want to do a channel like this where all we do is look at kittens. Honestly. Wow. He's saying, "Do it again, Dad. Do it again." Yo. I just love that. I just love that. Let's see what else we got here. Kitten. I didn't like that very much, did you? Oh, oh yeah, but you know, always. Make sure you give them a thumb up if you go over there and check out that video on the back of that. When I was reading, I started to oh, the baby. The kitty got the little green. What are you doing? Like, hey, you're my sister. Gotta get up. Oh, he's getting a massage. That's great. That's so smart. What do we got coming up? Skip it ahead a little. Oh, the baby. Oh, the kitty little baby. Oh, you figure you can hear that kitten's heartbeat pretty good. He sure does smiling. This cat is like, "What are you using my toy for? Why do you keep sticking that on? Why do you keep putting that on there?" Oh my gosh. Oh, that was too much. That's too cute. Cats and dogs that get along. That's so cute. Oh my gosh. What was he jumping for? Gotta tune that one back, man. What was he jumping for? What was he trying? Where was he going? Like, have you ever jumped right into a wall? I don't even see a shadow or nothing. There must have been a fly. Am I right? There had to have been a fly there or something. Gosh, look at how tiny. So tiny. There's no way that cat is just staying there. It's just staying there. Look at the head a little bit more. Yeah, so if you guys want to catch some cute pets and you just need a little pick me up or something, and you got animals too, just like I do, go over to the pet clinic and check them out yesterday. We bought some dogs. So now I know they have dogs, cats, all kinds of stuff over here. We got 10 million subscribers. So go check it out, guys. The Pet Collective on YouTube. All right. And that is going to be a wrap. I appreciate everybody tuning in. Check us out on other platforms. Let us know. Are you watching on Facebook, Kick, Twitch, YouTube, X? Where are you tuning in from? Go check out the podcast and give it a thumbs up over on Spotify and Apple Podcasts. Sure appreciate